Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to take a look at my boy Edgar. He just got an FR and a BT, and I got really lucky on my pull, so you know what? I decided to go all in and max this guy out, so he's totally maxed out. I'm going to be ready to go for this new Spiritus fight, so we'll see how he's doing here. But I'm hoping he looks good in the showcase. I think he's going to be a pretty fun character. I still don't recommend most players pull for him. The main reason I think to pull for this guy is, one, if you're just a big fan of Final Fantasy VI, or if you want to make the Spiritus fight easier, because I think the Spiritus fight, what I hear, is it really caters to him, right? And we'll see as I actually go through that fight myself. But in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Edgar's calls, artifacts, and spheres, see how the character's looking, see if it's a character that you are interested in or not. If you're not familiar with Edgar, his basically has a very specialized role in that he deals weakness damage, but it's not like an elemental weakness damage, it's actually all three weapon types. So he's actually going to deal ranged, magic, and melee weakness damage, and he imperils the enemies to all three of those, which is very, very unique. Now, weapon imperils are very rare. I just don't feel that they're as useful as they used to be, just because we have so many characters now that can do elemental imperil and enchant, which is going to give you weakness damage, right? Which that's really the benefit of it, is you want weakness damage. The time that this comes into play is when bosses have really heavy elemental lockouts. Well, this is a way that you can get weakness damage without worrying about elements. So that's the good part about Edgar. The question is how often is it going to be useful, right? Like, how often are you completely locked out of every element that, he doesn't, that he's going to be worth running. But on the other hand, it's just like he's always a nice option to get that imperil. And you can use him in a lot of fights. So I guess that would be a plus part of him, right? So we'll see how his damage is looking, see how his kit is looking here with him fully built out, right? So first we'll look at the calls. These calls are really nothing to worry about at all. Drill is literally just like a melee attack. He does apply like the Royal Pressure debuff and then a defense down and a max down. And the Royal Pressure debuff is a brave damage taken up and then just like a sap, like a poison kind of. So nothing too crazy there. And then Royal Shock, which is the LD. It's just going to raise the caller's, brave damage up, HP damage up, and overflow stolen up. Nothing too crazy. The big thing is like, the LD is what enables him to, like, do all those elemental imperils, but he doesn't get it on the call. So it's really unfortunate because, like, the really unique thing about Edgar, he doesn't get on the call, so it really devalues the call. So I really wouldn't worry about the call at all with him. I think if you're going to try to get him, it's going to be either to just, like, get him through the Spiritus fight, or because you actually like him and want to build him and use him in the party, right? So we're going to try him here on this Garnet and Aerith team. And let's go ahead and look at his actual kit here, right? So for his artifacts, I didn't even like pull up his artifacts, but he's pretty basic, right? And I don't even know if I have his best ones. I do. So he's got a couple of them, right? So he's got this one here. So he's got Attack 108, which I think that's the one you always want. And then for the second slot, I think you could either do Max Brave 330 or you can do this Mech Division Martial Boost, which raises own attack by 5% for 2 turns. When going against machine types. So here's the thing. The reason why I recommend you build this Mech Division Martial Boost, sure, are you always going against machine enemies? Because the other unique thing I should mention about Edgar is he always does weakness damage against machines. It's kind of niche, I know. It's kind of like how Tifa, a lot of you guys probably don't know this, but Tifa does weakness damage to skeleton characters. So if you didn't know that, that's a thing that used to be Tifa's like big unique thing, like in the like 15 and 35 CP era. That was Tifa's thing, was she dealt damage to like skeleton types. So Edgar, basically, he got the machine types. Now, the reason why you carry both of these is because if you are doing a fight against machines, I would put the Attack 108 Mech Division boost on. But if you're doing a normal fight, then switch to Attack 108 Max Brave 330. And you can see I've built mine very specifically where I've got both sets like ready to go. And for whatever fight I'm doing, I can put the right set on. So it's not like a typical character where you can just do one set and leave it. I mean, you could. You could do Attack 108 Max Brave and just let it sit. But I would say if you are doing machines, I would just build that second set of artifacts for sure. Because that way you have it ready to go, right? Then his spheres, I went crazy on the spheres too. I had a bunch of EXs I could max out, so I thought, why not? So the A slot, you definitely want attack or brave damage. His own sphere, I talked about this a little bit in the summon video, but his own sphere is very good. So if you do pick up any Edgar EXs that are extra, please save them, because you want to max those out to get a sphere. His sphere is a very easy condition, right? It's just while there is a debuffed enemy, you get brave damage up 10%. I think in the other video I thought it was like a weakness damage trigger, but it's actually actually a debuff trigger, which is even easier because any character in the party, as long as there's a debuff sitting on the enemy, that character is going to have brave damage up. So this is a ridiculously good sphere. So definitely like save your Edgar EXs is very good. The D slot, do any of your party attack ups. I think an attack max brave combo like Sisney or Hope is probably the best here. So just do whichever one that you have if you have any of those. Otherwise, you know, Ash, Saz, Lise, Hope. Luna Freya works because Luna Freya's weakness, and Luna Freya is like on a banner. So if you pick up a Luna Freya EX, you could definitely get that refined up. Luna Freya's would work great here. But I had extra Hopes because Hope was recently on the Machina banner. So if you picked up any Hope EXs, hopefully you got those laying around. You can't have too many of this guy. This is like, I think Hope might be the best D slot in the game. It's so good. It's so easy to use. Like every character puts a buff on. Like literally every character in the game can trigger this that has a D slot. And it's an attack max brave up for the party, which is a really nice combo, right? And then the E slot, you already know I'm going with Pain. Weakness damage characters E slot, love Pain there. We get a party attack up while putting an attack down on the enemies. It's very, very good. I think Yuffie would be definitely like the next best one, because Yuffie's is a debuff trigger, which that's what Edgar is. He's a debuffer, and that's going to be a nice attack up as well. So I'd say Yuffie or Pain would be my top 2 picks here on the E sphere. And with that, let's jump into the video. I'm excited to see how this man's going to look. We'll just hop in here. And you know what? I have Aerith for force charging. But just in case, let's grab a second Aerith if I just really want to go crazy with the force charging. I think we'll be fine here. We're just going to do a few turns, operate through the kit, kind of see how he looks. I kind of like to see each attack without a force multiplier up. And then we'll go into force and then kind of watch him go crazy from there, right? So we'll just let Aerith go. The one thing with Edgar, you know, we find with a lot of characters nowadays, they will start with pretty much all their buffs up right away. But Edgar, I do not believe starts with his LD buff. So you want to get that thing up ASAP. So I usually would say open with Edgar's LD. We'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure they did not update him to start with that. But we can certainly double check that here. We'll do this. We're going to do full like good setup here right away, by the way. And then let's drop that BT effect. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and start off with the LD here. We'll double check though. So we're looking for the buff called Debilitator on Edgar. So we'll double check and see if it's there. We'll just drop that Garnet BT right there. Let me just drop this right here. All right, let's just double check Edgar. Yeah, he does not open with Debilitator. So I would say just open up with his LD. You could throw the AA on. It's just a debuff attack up. So just general stats against debuffed enemies. Definitely good to put on when you can. And sure, drop that and get the Garnet Bomb. Why not? All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with Royal Shock. Let's see what the damage looks like here. I'm hoping it's good because I full invested this guy without even trying him out. Okay, a mil AoE, pretty standard. Not too bad there. So what he's going to get from this is he gets a free turn and he's going to get a free ability use. So you see some green numbers going on. He gets a new HP attack called Bioblaster. So Edgar, if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy VI, it's really cool how they do build him around his kit because he's all about using tools. So he's got these different tools that he does, like auto crossbow, chainsaw, debilitator, you know, the Bioblaster. These are all different like tools you could buy in the game, and they all did different attacks. So they just incorporate all these tools into his kit, which is why he has so many weapon types, because all these tools are like different types of attacks. And so it's cool. I think they did a good job of like building him around that, right? So he's going to get 3 uses of this Bioblaster. He gives himself the Debilitator buff for 12 turns. So it's not like you have to upkeep this a ton. Like you press at the beginning and 12 turns will go a long way. Now, Debilitator is very interesting because he's going to get a max brave, brave damage, HP damage, and overflow stolen up, and brave stolen up. But the big thing is anytime he does brave damage, he's going to put a weak debuff on the enemies. And this weak debuff will basically be an imperil for whatever weapon type Edgar swings with. And I do believe these stack. So if Edgar does a magic attack, they get a magic imperil. Then he can attack with a ranged attack. They'll get a ranged imperil. And then he can attack with a melee. And if you attack with all 3 of those before his debuffs, the enemy's debuffs wear out, they will carry all 3 imperils at the same time, right? So we'll look at the enemy right now. They do have weak right now. And right now, they already have magic resistance down. It already is a magic imperil because that's what the LD did. It did magic damage. So it like put it on and it did it right away, right? So now I've got a free skill. As you see, I got the 3 Bioblasters just chilling there. So let's go ahead and let's do Auto Crossbow. Auto Crossbow is going to be our ranged attack. So noting the attack type is very important because you want it. What I would do is get the LD up and then try to spread out and get all the weapon imperils immediately. Obviously, it depends on the fight. If I'm carrying a melee team, I just want to make sure I imperil for whatever my team is. But if you're doing a fight where you want the enemy to have all 3 weaknesses, I would try to balance the attacks and get it going. So let's do auto crossbow. This is his main AoE attack. And dude, yeah, he's just chucking a mill AoE on an auto crossbow. I'll take that for my boy for sure. I think it's kind of the standard nowadays. Like your standard like new character, you're doing about a mill per button press, right? So like that now the big time DPSs, they're doing like 2 mil or even like 3 or 4 mil on a button press. But yeah, for what Edgar is as like a utility character, I'll take that 1 mil AoE. That was very nice damage right there. On his auto crossbow. Oh, and by the way, his skills all have plus versions, which you always want up. And those plus versions come from the Royal Pressure debuff. So I should have mentioned, back to the LD here, the LD also did apply that Royal Pressure debuff. And Royal Pressure is a brave damage taken up and then a sap on the enemies, right? And Edgar's sap scales off of Max Brave. This is why Max Brave is pretty important to his kit. So that's why on the spheres I was trying to get some attack and Max Brave combos in there. And why Attack 108, Max Brave 330 is pretty much your standard one. But I do think against machines, it is kind of saucy to throw that other one on there where you get the extra attack against machines. I think that's kind of nice. But the significant part about keeping the plus versions up, so Royal Pressure is going to make all of his other skills have their plus versions. All of the plus versions of the skill, they're going to be stronger, and they also ignore defense. Those of you that haven't like noticed this, there's kind of a theme with Final Fantasy VI where a lot of the characters in this game ignore defense. It's kind of crazy. Like Cyan, his big deal is he does it. Shadow does it. Locke gives it to the entire party. I think Sabin does it. So like just a ton of ignore defense for Final Fantasy VI, and Edgar's got that as well. So that's part of having the plus version up. Okay, so then, and the nice thing is Royal Pressure, like it's pretty impossible to like not have it up, because I think literally all of his attacks apply it. So it's going to be pretty tough for the enemies not to have Royal Pressure, other than if they're like cleansing themselves, right? So Auto Crossbow did the AoE attack, Max Brave up and a speed up to Edgar, and then it applies Royal Pressure for 6 turns on the enemy. Pretty basic, but once again, it is range damage, so it's going to hit up that ranged imperil, right? Let's do this. Well, I've got Aerith out here. Let's just grab the friend so that we're ready when we want to do it. And let's just, we'll just ramp with the friend Aerith here. I actually, like, when I grab a friend unit, I think, like, grabbing Selfie or Pinello is a little bit better just because their animations are quicker. Aerith does, like, her Healing Wind is pretty slow for, like a force charging move compared to other characters. So that's okay, though. We'll watch our girl Aerith go here and just charge us up a little bit. I think my GIMP selfie movement worked, because ever since I had, you know, that, I think it was a series of like maybe like a month where I kept getting like GIMP selfies on these showcases. I haven't had any issues with the GIMP selfies. So, and that didn't look like to be a GIMP Aerith, so that was very good there. We'll take that. So Aerith, we want to get you set up. What's so awesome about Aerith, and I know this isn't Aerith's showcase, but I just love the fact that you can just pop her BT effect right away, and provided you don't go below 50% health, it's just an infinite BT effect. It is so good that you can just confidently pop it early and not have to worry about, you know, I don't want to pop it too early because I don't want the BT effect to wear off. Well, if you stay safe, Aerith's BT effect just chills. It's awesome. It's very good, and she's going to be dropping her own lasers from the sky. You know, we got to get her some healing, though, to put some stacks into that. All right, so next with Edgar, let's just show off Drill. This is the main melee attack, so let's go and pop that. All right, dude, 1.2 mil, yeah, on a single. So that's his, like, single target attack with some splash. So the way you think of the 15 and 35, Auto Crossbow is your ranged AoE, and then Drill is your melee single target. Very good. So Drill, it gives him an attack up, and then it applies Royal Pressure, defense down, and Max Brave down on enemies. So you can see we're starting to pile up the debuffs. So that's very good there. And once again, this is going to imperil for melee. So let's just take a look at our enemies here. So look at this. The weak debuff, it kind of just evolves. Every time he hits, it refreshes it and applies a new imperil. So now we got melee, ranged, and magic resist down. So we've got all 3 imperils stacked, which is very, very good. Which I'm assuming is going to be very detrimental to the Spiritus fight. Once again, haven't tried it yet, but knowing I got my boy maxed, I'm feeling pretty good going into that fight, not going to lie. Who knows, depending, I might do it like extra runs, because I know a lot of people aren't going to have Edgar. I know what I've heard is you got to bring like calls to get these imperils. It's kind of tricky, but we'll see. Once again, I got to experience this fight for myself. Let's go ahead and just pop the LD here with Garnet. And then are we already ready to do FR stuff? I think we are. I think we are ready to do some FR stuff. So what I'm going to do here... Yeah, Edgar is actually pretty easy to play, right? It's just like you get that LD up right away, and you just kind of balance out the attacks, keep refreshing buffs. I guess we have to see his EX yet, so we do want to see his EX. But what I'll do, well, yeah, let's just go ahead and hit Seal Evil, and then I think by the time he naturally hits his EX, like we're gonna have the Force Gauge anyways. So we'll just do another turn with Edgar here and try and attack out. I suppose we could do his BT attack. The one thing to note, let's do it. Let's do his BT attack because we've got it here, right? So this is called Air Anchor. And then what we could do too, yeah, let's just pop it right now. Well, yeah, we'll just pop it. There's a little bit of strategy to how you use Air Anchor, but we'll talk about that. So this won't be the most strategic use of it, but we'll use it just to kind of show you what it does. So we're going to let this pop off. I want to see the damage here because I do want to see it without the Force Gauge. We got the good old coin flip, referring to his double-headed coin they use against Sabin. 1.2 mil AoE, that's pretty standard damage. We'll take it. Now watch what happens. He lays down a very heavy trap. Watch the enemies now. They're going to take turns right away. Watch this trap. This comes from the BT. It's going to be really big damage, and it's going to instant break. Okay, it unbreaks, breaks, and then, yeah, 2.6 mil on the trap. That is a ridiculously heavy, hard-hitting trap. Now, there is a negative to it, which I'll talk about in a second, but... yeah, just popping up. Yeah, look at that damage. Dude, 2.6. That's the most damage I think I've ever seen on like a single trap. Okay, so let's talk about the BT, and I'll talk about kind of the good and the bad of it, right? So the BT does ignore defense, which a lot of his kit does. And then he puts the trap on, and it's one turn, okay? And then what's going to happen is while they have that trap up, or it's a debuff, I guess you'd call it, but it acts like a trap. It does a defense down, brave, and HP damage dealt minus 100 for the enemies, so like they can't like touch us on that turn. So you notice the enemies dealt once to us, and then it triggers the trap after it. And I love the Tonberry troop. They gave it their own name. They call it "Drop It Like It's Hot." Not the official name, but Edgar's dropping it like it's hot. So that's what we saw there. Pretty good on Tonberry troop for that name. I think that's pretty funny. Burst effect is a brave damage up, brave damage limit up, HP damage up, and HP damage limit up. That's the definition of like very standard BT auras. So sure, we got our nice BT auras. We got that cool kind of debuff, right? So like I said, the debuff, the bad part about it though, is it's one turn and it doesn't like refresh. So you get the BT effect once, you get the trap. It's humongous, but you just get it one time. So kind of the strategy with it is you would drop his like green BT attack like near the end of a force time when you know the enemies are going to get turns. So if you pop that trap when you're sitting at like 7, 8, 900%, the damage off turn is going to be insane. So it's not as good as say like a Minwoo where the traps keep refreshing, you're constantly getting the ticks, but it's like you get one big blow up with that BT and you just want to time it right with the FR. Now the other way you can use it is you notice that trap did like it unbreaks and then will re-break the enemies. So you can use it like early as a disruption to like push the enemies back because you're trying to no-turn them or something like that. So I think there's a lot of use to it, but I am kind of bummed that it's just a one and done. But they did really stack it because once again, while they have that debuff up, it is like a mini Raijin kind of because they really can't kill you. Because Brave and HP damage dealt minus 100%. Like, they can't touch you. So, while they have it up, they can't touch you. And then, so that could be useful too if they have the debuff up and they try doing interrupt attacks or threshold attacks. It should mitigate that pretty well, right? Unless, of course, their attack is an auto kill or it ignores effects or something like that. But I can see some use like with the defensive tech of that. And then, like I said, that the trap is beefy. That is one heck of a strong trap right there, right? All right, so let's let Garnet go. And then let's go ahead and Edgar, my boy Edgar is very close to the EX, so he should have it on his turn. So we are going to pop the EX, and then we will wrap around again. And we're going to go ahead and do Edgar's FR. And we're going to see how his FR is looking. Now, I think his FR is actually a pretty nice condition, pretty nice and free. We'll talk about it when we use it here in a second. And then what I'll do is maybe we'll do like an Edgar BT phase and we can drop it like it's hot again, right? Maybe we can do some shenanigans and see the damage on a high force. I think that would be interesting. We got to time it right, though, because these enemies, if we don't do it right, they're going to pop like really easily. So it might be hard to set up here, right? All right, let's go ahead and see the EX for my guy here. So this is called Chainsaw. This, by the way, was like kind of like his best tool in the game. It was my favorite. All right, so yeah, like 2 mil on the EX, and I think it charges in like 2 turns. Like once you get it going, it charges like fairly quickly. And the thing with Chainsaw in the video game was it had 2 different animations. So the animation we just saw was the standard one, but then he also had one where he puts on like a hockey mask and does like an auto kill Chainsaw. And I'll have to double check, but I think in this game you can get both animations. I don't think it changes anything, but we'll kind of see if we do more EXs. We'll look for the other animation. So what the EX is going to do here, it's called Chainsaw. It'll have the plus version as long as enemies have Royal Pressure, which, like I said, you're pretty much going to always upkeep that. Chainsaw will refresh Royal Pressure like all of his other attacks do. And then he gets a buff called Machinery, which is attack, overflow, stolen up, Brave retain 20%. That's really nice. So he's going to retain 20% of the Brave he deals. And then max Brave and HP damage up 50%. That's actually pretty heavy. And then Brave damage 10% per debuff on the target. So Edgar is a character where you want to maybe combo with a debuff call or have at least another debuffer on the team to keep the enemies loaded, because it is going to impact his FR as well. So we'll go ahead and just do an attack here. And then we're going to go ahead and go into Edgar FR here before these enemies melt away from like the very first Shinryu ever in the game. All right, and then Aerith. Oh, you know what? Aerith has to do some healing winds. We got to get her lasers up to full speed here. Yeah, let's get those lasers going. We're going to healing wind to get that stacked up. All right, and then Edgar's going to be popping off an FR here in just a second. There we go. There's the good lasers. All right, sure. And let's just reapply the Seal Evil. The problem is with... Oh, wow. I'm actually going to let the enemies get to force. Is it going to mess us up? I don't even remember like what their force conditions are. They're going to hit their force. All right, we'll see what happens. All right, well, Seal Evil saving us there, because that would have been a paralyze on Edgar. That would have been a group paralyze. I think we're good because of the Seal Evil. And then we've got Aerith's overhead, so we're fine. Because I think in the few times I have actually died doing showcases on here is probably because of the paralyze, right? All right, Edgar, let's go ahead and pop off the FR. This is called Chance Maker. Give it a shot here. This may or may not cancel the enemy's force. I don't know what their condition is. This fight's so old. Comboing up with Jessie, which kind of makes sense. They're kind of like tool-based characters, right? Jessie's got her guns and grenades. Alright, so we got about 2 mil AoE on that. We're starting up the force time here. We'll let the enemies go. Alright, we did steal their force. Nice. Alright, so let's talk about what Edgar's force conditions are here. Oh, we haven't done Bioblaster. We got to hit off a Bioblaster too. I forgot about that. We got that HP plus attack, right? So Chance Maker ignores defense. And I do believe Chance Maker, it does all 3 weapon types in one attack. So if you have the LD buff up, the Debilitator, the Debilitator, you could hit FR and you're going to get all 3 imperils like immediately. So that is one thing significant about it. And then as long as you hit weapon weakness damage, and it is very specific, it can't be elemental weakness, it has to be weapon weakness damage, you get 40%. And then basically you attack a debuffed enemy and you get 5% per debuff, which maxes at 40. So it's a very free 80%, right? Because if you have Edgar in the party for his FR, which you will, right? The enemy should be imperiled to any weapon type, so every character is getting that for free, and provided you're keeping them full of debuffs, it's going to be free. So it's a very free FR. It's a very good one to use, right? And so what I did was I did bring like a Mediterranean and a Ferris just to make sure I can keep the enemies loaded up. So sure, we'll burn a force turn here. But what we're going to do is, this is probably going to be overkill, but let's try to echo here. I want to get the gauge up a little bit for Edgar. The enemies are just going to die. I'm not going to be able to show it, but what you could do with Edgar is you could time it where like you use echo and build up the gauge quite a bit. Go into Edgar's, like if you go into Edgar's burst phase, excuse me, at like turn 8. Then you could come out, and if the enemies are attacking right after his burst phase, that trap could pop off at a really high percentage. I kind of wanted to do that here, but these enemies are going to be too weak. It's not going to work. And Aerith, Aerith, I could double echo with her. It doesn't do damage. I'm going to do it, actually. I'm going to do this, and then I'm just going to do a brave attack with Garnet and not attack. And I'm going to get into an Edgar burst phase. And I believe during the burst phase, then I can show you the Bioblaster. And then that way we're free to do a bunch of damage and the enemies can't die. I don't think these are going to be too heavy, are they? Okay, no, that only did like 4% or something. So yeah, we'll just double echo here with Aerith. get our gauge up a little bit, get our boy Edgar started. We'll definitely do that. Now, unfortunately, you know, we're only getting the base 80% because his condition does require you to attack the enemies, but anything that's attacking the enemies, you should get 80% on it, right? And then Aerith, we'll just, I think we're just going to Brave attack here. We don't want to do too much damage. Okay, and then we're just going to have Garnet Brave attack because we don't want to do too much damage. Because we got two, like, off-turn things going, right? Alright, and then Edgar's going to be able to hop in here on turn 7 at least. Alright, so let's go ahead and burn. I mean, he's starting at 600%. Pretty good for trying to go light here. And he's still got an Echo himself. So let's go ahead and burst phase up here with Edgar. Alright, well, I kind of want to check out the Bio Blaster. So let's do that. So once again, this comes from the LD. He gets 3 shots with it. Okay, 7 mil. I mean, we're at like 600%. So it is kind of hard to gauge. But it seemed like pretty good damage. And Bio Blaster, by the way, does Royal Pressure, and it does apply a poison, so that's another debuff he has access to. And it does increase his EX gauge by 20%, so it is kind of an EX charging move. So that is also very good. Sure, I mean, the enemies are definitely melted. Now let's pop off a Chainsaw and just get some. This will be good, though. We can kind of see some later force time damage here. 12 mil on the Chainsaw, very good. We'll definitely take that. Let's go ahead and try the Royal Shock. Okay, about 10 mil there at 765%. Okay. His EX is gone. We could Bio Blaster again. I mean, let's do an auto crossbow, I guess. Now remember, this would be AoE damage, so it would have been 11 mil AoE. That would have been very good. And then I kind of want to do another Bio Blaster. Sure, let's do another Bio Blaster. That is also AoE, so yeah, another 11 mil AoE there. And then, of course, we got to pop the FR attack at a full gauge and see what that can do. What does our FR do at a full gauge? And this is also an AoE attack with split HP damage, but how much do we got on the single target here? At full gauge. I feel like that's good. Yeah, about 20 mil. That's not bad for my boy Edgar, considering what he's doing like with utility and debuffs and things like that. And then we'll finish off with the air anchor. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of Edgar. I think he is definitely like a good character. It's just, man, there's a lot of other good characters. Next month actually has a lot of really fun stuff coming. So we will definitely be doing a like poll planning video after the community stream. So yeah, look forward to that. But let me know what you think of this guy. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.